On February 28, 2026, the US and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury.
We're going to begin with that breaking news overseas. The U.S. and Israel.
U.S. and Israel have launched strikes and a major military operation targeting Iran.
U.S. and Israeli strikes inside Iran.
In just 12 hours, nearly 900 strikes shredded Iran's air defenses and nuclear sites. Over the next few weeks, more than 15,000 targets were hit. But there was one target the military very carefully left alone. 16 miles off Iran's coast sits a tiny coral island called Karg. It handles almost all of Iran's crude oil exports. U.S. bombers wiped out the guns and radars protecting it, but the pilots were ordered to leave the oil tanks and loading terminals completely untouched. Why would you leave your enemy's main source of money intact in the middle of a war? Because if Karg actually burns, it's not Tehran that collapses first, it's the U.S. economy. And while you're watching this, that island is still sitting there, and that single decision is still shaping your economy. It is the reason your gas shot toward $4 a gallon, and why your own government is stuck, unable to fix it. Karg Island is the ultimate bottleneck, pumping out 96% of Iran's crude exports. Washington knew hitting it was the doomsday option. If the Iranian regime fell, the U.S. figured a new government would desperately need that oil money to rebuild. Without it, America would be stuck footing an impossible bill. But Iran knows it can't win a traditional shooting war. Instead, its whole strategy is to make the global economy bleed. Their main weapon is the Strait of Hormuz. In peacetime, over 20 million barrels of oil flow through this narrow waterway every single day. That's 20% of the entire world's daily supply. Iran didn't even need to physically block the strait, just the threat of strikes sent war risk insurance for cargo ships spiking 300 to 500%. Daily tanker traffic plummeted, and on March 1st, only 5 oil tankers dared to cross. Suddenly, up to 16.5 million barrels of oil a day were stranded. And that shockwave didn't stay in the Gulf, it landed right on your dashboard. When you choke off that much oil, the financial shockwave hits you instantly. Before the war, global oil was stable, trading around $67 to $70 a barrel. When the strait effectively closed, that price violently surged to $120, and that translates directly to your local pump. Before the conflict, the national average for gas was $2.91. In just 3 weeks, it shot up to $3.92. Imagine a middle-class family that just got their annual tax refund, which was averaging about $3,600. Maybe they planned to use that money to pay down credit cards or finally fix the car. Instead, economists projected this war would force that family to burn an extra $740 just to drive to work this year. That extra cost entirely swallowed the new tax breaks they were counting on. Overall, these fuel costs ripped $15 billion out of household incomes every single month. That's $15 billion that used to go to rent, groceries, and savings, now vaporized at the pump. And it wasn't just gas. Diesel spiked, and shipping a container from China jumped to nearly $7,000. So every box arriving in America already costs more before it even hits a truck. Every product on the shelf had to get more expensive, or someone went out of business. And here's where it stops being just your wallet and starts breaking your entire government's plan. The Federal Reserve wanted to finally cut interest rates. The war slammed that door shut. They were trapped. If they cut rates, inflation runs wild. If they hike rates, the economy snaps, so they just froze. What about the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve? Even emptying hundreds of millions of emergency barrels barely made a dent. The math doesn't care about American politics. All those combined global reserves only cover about 20 days of what Hormuz normally moves. And the terrifying part, this was just the baseline. Institutional models started running the numbers on what happens if Karg Island is actually destroyed or the strait is permanently shut down. They projected crude oil rocketing to $150 a barrel, eclipsing all-time highs. A nightmare tail risk scenario pushed it to $200. At $150 a barrel, banks like JP Morgan put the odds of a massive global recession at 35%. That's not foreign policy, that's panic. Then, in mid-March, everyone finally saw how bad this could get. Israel actually hit a natural gas facility inside Iran. Iran retaliated instantly, hitting gas plants in Qatar and the UAE. The US had to step in and forcefully demand Israel stop hitting energy targets, realizing that if this tit-for-tat continued, the global economy would crash. The US military was dominating the skies, but the public didn't care. Polls showed approval for the strikes was a dismal 29%. People were watching their wealth evaporate. Backed into a corner, Washington did something almost no one noticed, and it what sanctions even mean. On March 20th, the U.S. Treasury quietly signed a sweeping sanctions waiver called General License U. That waiver suddenly allowed up to 140 million barrels of oil stored on ghost tankers offshore, back into the open market. The U.S. government did this because they were more scared of $4 gas than from enriching an enemy in the middle of a war. To hope flooding the market with Iranian oil would shave just $10 to $15 off the global price, dropping gas at your local station maybe 25 to 38 cents. This is what it looks like when gas prices matter more than enemies. To stop voters from turning on them, the U.S. had to feed money back to the very regime it said it was destroying. To cool prices down, Washington had to help Iran sell oil and even allowed countries like India to bypass the U.S. dollar to buy it. The U.S. won the physical war, but the 2026 crisis proved a brutal reality. The ability to choke off the world's energy supply is a weapon far stronger than any bomb. And that's the real reason there's still one Iranian target the U.S. is afraid to bomb.